It's interesting, you do hear some things I was checking on the websites, and they say, well, why don't the woman leave? And it seems a simple question, but I know it's not a simple answer, Dean.
It isn't, Hilton. That's a big question. In the book, co-authored with Indira, this is the type of question that we're answering. One of our chapters is called why doesn't she let him go?
Yeah.
And it's a really big question, and it's a complex question.
Yeah.
We explain it this way. We say that there's a part or an aspect of the woman that thinks she is going to be able to change this man.
Right.
There's a part of her that really loves this man.
Yeah.
And believes that this man really loves her. And that bond, if you like, is something that really keeps, I guess, the woman in a relationship. Not only that, if we talk about some of those controlling behaviours like restrictions of economic finance, we talk about restrictions around friends and those types of things.
Yeah.
What happens is the woman becomes entrapped. And it's very difficult. We hear these stories all the time of women. We're not just talking about one type of woman. We're talking about across all demographics of women get caught in these cycles, and that's exactly what they are. They're cycles and they're repetitive patterns. Like, if we explain it, that's why we use the addictive behaviour paradigm, because there's got to be more to it than the partner becomes violent, and then I just let it go.
Right.
There's got to be more to it.
Right.
It's a cycle. It's a pattern, and we can explain it a little bit more later on. But really, simplistic would be that there's an aspect of the woman that really loves this man. That believes he can change.
Right. And you mentioned your sister.
Yeah.
Who grew up with domestic violence, had more of it in the family of origin, you were saying, Dean, and yet she has gone, and it's an interesting psychological phenomena, and yet, they say, I go into the relationship to try and fix my past, and has unwittingly attracted the very men that she probably didn't want, but is trying to kind of deal with something. And forgive me for even mentioning it, because I can understand family of origin might be.
Sure.
It's just that you did mention her earlier, and the tragedy is that some people from violent backgrounds attract violent relationships.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it is quite raw for me at the moment. But I'm happy to.
Apologies.
It's okay. Look, I'm happy to answer the question. My sister, this is ongoing. This is happening, now, if you like. It's still ongoing. Fortunately, my sister doesn't live in Australia where I reside. She's in the UK, and for her, it's been an observation that I talk to her regularly, and the observation is that it is a cycle. Yeah. It is a cycle. This is something like so if we was to look at her relationships, if we was to space them out and look at them individually, what we'll see is there is a common thread there.
Right.
And the common thread is that these males, if you like, are actors within the scenario of the same pattern repeating itself.
Right. Yeah.
It's men that are abusive. It's men that are using my sister, if you like, to make them feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
There's definitely characteristics of the men where I would say these are men that she's involved with that are not willing to change.
Yeah.
These are men that are not willing to look at their behaviours.
Right.
Men that are caught purely and deeply within these cycles. So it's a difficult one. My sister wants nothing more than to break away. But when I ask her, "Oh, Lisa, why do you stay?"
Yeah.
And her answer is this: "I love him." I said, "But Lisa, the way he's treating you and the way he's abusing you, he obviously doesn't love you." But for her, she's holding on to that belief that deep down he loves her.
Right.
She
And
doesn't
of course-
have the economic support to break away from from him. So there's all of these different hooks, if you like, of what's keeping her within this violent relationship.
Yeah, and it's interesting, I suppose, sometimes, and I know it happens with people when I was a relationships counsellor, is that people do tend to attract similar kinds of people, even though they know they're not good for them. And it's an unfortunate characteristic that both men and women suffer from, is that I can continually seek someone that I know there's lots of good men out there, but I'm zeroed in on these kind of guys for almost like an unconscious driver.
Sure.
I often think it's trying to fix something in family of origin. Maybe if it works here, it can help me deal with back there. You do sometimes find, perhaps some of the women, I don't know if this is true in your experience, Dina, check it out, but some women who feel a little powerless can be very attracted to men who are quite powerful, the classic alpha male. But he also might have that edge of control and violence, and they can see that. But at the time, they actually think, well, he's going to take care of me. Maybe. Is that, in your experience, anything of that goes on or not? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say, we could look at the more playful analogy of that, of women are attracted to bad guys.
Yeah.
That old analogy.
The old analogy.
That excitement, if you like. Nice guys finish last type of scenario.
Right,
so we can look at it like that. But I think it's good to get an understanding around the word power. Because, when we refer to power, ultimately a man can be powerful without being abusive.
Yeah, of course.
A man can be powerful without trying to manipulate control.
Yes.
And I think it's really important to highlight that. Otherwise, what we're saying, and this is something I've identified in myself, is that sometimes because how we've grown up, maybe people we've observed, in our society, sometimes we withdraw and hold our power back because we're frightened that power may cause damage to someone, particularly within an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
And this isn't. I don't believe this is healthy, because ultimately everybody should be able to feel empowered. Because that's what we want. We want a thriving society.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, some women that do feel powerless do get attracted to these men because they perceive that these men are going to protect them.
Right.
That old patriarchal, king of the castle type of thing. But I think, as well as being powerless, I feel that potentially that maybe the woman has experienced some type of abuse prior to her adult life.
Right.
These are things that we've discussed in the book. We've looked at, why is it that some women that there's been victims of abuse within childhood have then become victims of domestic violence in adult life. Yeah. So we would have to look at those types of connections as well in order to describe that. But I think it's really important to bring forward the word power, and just to say that there can be a misuse of power, most definitely. Yes. But not all men that are powerful are misusing that power.
Yeah, of course, that's right. That's a really good distinction. A really good distinction.